There we go. So who wants coached today? Who's done the work? Who hasn't done the work? Who has questions? Who's like, I need all the things? That's what I want to hear from you. So raise your hand. I think raising your hand is a thing. And I will promote you to a panelist, and everybody will be able to see us both have the conversation. I think that's how it works. So, but I don't see a hand raised yet. Oh, wait, no. There's just a tiny little hand over here. I think. Yeah, I mean, they're hands. I love it. I'm like, I don't know. I feel nervous. Like, is this going to work? This is how we manage our minds. We just go for it. Allow you to talk. Hey, Libby. Pull up your video, unmute yourself.
I'm unmuted. Can you see me?
Not yet.
I only see you. Let's see. Let me look at my settings. So I don't have an option to like turn on my video.
I don't have an option to turn on your video either.
Normally, you know how like at the bottom of Zoom, you can like turn video off or on? I don't see that icon.
Let me look at my settings really quick.
Okay.
Sorry, everybody. If anybody else knows, feel free to. Didn't I promote her to a panelist?
Yeah, so I got a thing. Well, wait. I got a thing that said that I'm being asked. Oh, hello.
Thank you, Stephanie. You knew all the right answers. Okay, woo. Here you are.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
What can we coach your mind on today?
So I have a few questions about the work, and then that will probably bring up some other stuff. So first, step one is we write down, you know, our it's possible statement, and then step two is like going to the place where it's done.
Okay.
So the first one that came to me and just kept coming to me was, I can't believe I did it. And I was like, that's not the statement that I should have, because I'm supposed to be believing all the way along. So there was two that came up on there. Like, then I had like, yep, I made that money. This is awesome. Let's do it again. I had a bunch.
Stop you for a minute.
Okay.
What was your first statement? What's the goal? Like, what's your goal? What are you creating for the month?
It's possible to create $1,200 in the next 7 days.
Okay. Do you believe it's possible? So do you, like, when you say that to yourself, it's possible to create $1,200 in the next 7 days, there's two places we always want to check. There's our head. Does our head argue? And guys, we all know about the head arguing. And then the second place we check is we check our body. Does your body tense up, or do you feel, right? Because possibility feels very different than like, right? So when you think that thought, it's possible to sign or to create $1,200 in 7 days. Do the head check and the body check.
Okay. So yeah, it's conflicted because I totally believe that is possible. I know that is possible.
In your head.
I don't know. I don't know the difference. I guess I don't know the difference maybe.
Yep. So let's go back to this. So it's possible to create $1,200 in 7 days. So there's the part in your head, either your brain is arguing or your body's like, oof, I don't think so. Which place are you experiencing this?
Give me 1 second.
Of course.
My body feels neutral. It doesn't feel like expansive, full of possibility, but it also doesn't feel like, ooh, it feels sort of neutral.
Okay.
So it feels like my brain is arguing. Like, I know that this is possible. We've done this before. But then it's also the like objections. And then my body just feels totally neutral. So maybe I'm not in enough practice of tapping into my body feelings.
Okay. The thing with possibility, though, guys, is that possibility is all about the future. Notice every single objection is like, I've done it before, but we want to like put everything else to the side and say, it's just possible to create $1,200 in 7 days. You don't know how you're going to do it. You don't know what that's going to look like. Of course you don't, right? Like one of my favorite thoughts from the workbook is, of course I don't know how it's going to work. I'm not a fortune teller. That one always cracks me up because our brains think we should know. But what if you just sit in the simplicity of the statement that it's like, it's just possible. Like good things are really possible. Terrible things are also possible. And like, it's just possible. You get yourself to that place.
Okay. So as I'm in that place, it's like this in my body, it's kind of like this mix of like nervous, but excited.
Okay.
So it feels possible in
Perfect.
my body. Yes.
But I want you guys to notice the difference. Like possibility, like it is totally possible. Man, my brain always goes to the worst. It's totally possible that like the neighbor's house burns down and it catches our house on fire. Like it's possible. Guys, it really is. It's possible that we get in a car accident. It's possible. My brain always, when we drive over bridges and it's icy, I'm like, it's very possible we slide off the road. Right, guys, these are things are very possible. And we don't ever question how possible it is that the neighbor's house could burn down and catch ours on fire too. We're like, no, that's a fact. Versus it's possible you create $1,200 in 7 days. Right? Just as a fact, like it's just possible.
It's possible.
And part of this is practicing, like honing your brain into like, yeah, if those things are possible, like this actually is too.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we got that part.
Okay. So yeah, it feels very possible. I don't know. I can't say it feels realistic, but I can say it's totally possible.
Okay. So now your brain is arguing like realistic. Is there a number? Like, I mean, realistic doesn't even exist. So what you're telling me right now is that your brain pretends things are more realistic than others. Like it's more realistic that I won't sign any clients. So I should probably think about that. You hear that? Like that's what realistic means.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And that's a bummer. Realistic is like a bummer.
And it's not more true, right? Like if you focus on that, of course that's going to be what happens because you're going to act from that place of it's probably not going to happen. Versus if you just choose to believe, let me show you this. I'm not sure what word I'm spelling there. We're just going to go with not happening. Possible. How do you feel when you think like it's not realistic? Maybe that's the thought here. It's not realistic. How do you feel when you think that thought?
Defeated.
Okay.
I feel.
Nope, only one.
Oh, just one. Okay.
Nope.
Yep.
So when
defeated.
you're thinking like it's not realistic and you feel defeated, tell me how you show up to the next 7 days.
Oh, I don't. Like it's like I might as well not even try because it's not happening. So
Okay.
yeah.
So you don't show up. You think things like don't even bother. What else? You're feeling defeated. You're thinking that's not realistic. What do you do instead?
I'll tell you what I do instead. I go off of a tangent thinking of all the other things that I could come up with that would work other than what I've got going on right now. So I very much am like, so here's a really tangible example. I have a workshop that I'm running at the end of the week. I've had registration open. There are people in there, but in my brain, I'm still like, well, it's not going to be enough to make our number. So I need to start going and figuring out a million other things that I could do instead to compensate.
So I'm trying to like summarize what that is. So when you're thinking like it's not realistic to create $1,200, it sounds like then you're not believing in even the things that you have going that could create it.
Yeah, that's
You're
exactly
assuming that
right.
they're not even going to work.
Yeah, it's like I have decided in advance that they're not going to work. And so, but I feel very driven to solve the problem, to figure out what is going to work. Like there's this one problem in there that I need to solve for.
I love that you mentioned this one, you guys, because this is actually the slowest thing that people do in that first $50,000 is they try and solve problems. And our brain never tells us what the real problem is because we're fishes in water. Your brain will never tell you. So you're going to spend all this time trying to solve problems when the only problem was your thought. That's not realistic. Right? Our brain never says that this is the problem. Believing that it's not realistic when $1,200 was always an option. How many people do you have to sign in order to create $1,200?
Oh, like one.
Yeah. So you have to sign one client.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you hear that?
Yeah, one.
Uh-huh.
So
Okay.
doable.
Yeah. So I want you to see our neutral circumstance here is $1,200 in 7 days. And when you believe the thought, right? And by believe, I mean when your brain serves that up to you first and you're like, okay, I'll carry that balloon around. And you let that balloon carry you around, but it's actually kind of dragging you. It's a balloon that's the opposite. It drags instead because it's with the feeling of defeated. Then you don't show up to create $1,200. You assume that it's not going to work. You don't even bother. You start focusing on the things you have in the fire that could create it. You start assuming they aren't going to work. And then you go off and try and solve problems. So you're busy.
Very. My brain is very busy.
Yeah, but you're not creating $1,200.
No.
Right? Because you're believing the thought, that's not realistic. So you create it not being realistic. Because notice, of course it's not realistic when you're thinking and doing, like when you're doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so many people, I love it, right? Because I'm a coach who coaches coaches, particularly mindset coaches. And so one of the things that they tell me is they say, but what am I going to do? Just sit around and think thoughts? But this is the perfect example of how when we sit around thinking thoughts on default, this is the action we take versus I want to show you the other version. And this is the part where you still have the neutral circumstance of 1,200 days, $1,200 in 7 days. But we're going to go with you create the results, right? So maybe we don't go from it the direction. So this is just the thought you're thinking on default. What else can you believe about $1,200 in 7 days? Because we don't know for sure that you're going to create the result, right? Remember, you guys, in the book I talk about, we aren't certain in the result. We're certain in yourself that you're not going to stop. So $1,200 in 7 days, what else can you believe about that?
That it could happen in an instant.
Okay.
That
How do you feel when you think that thought? Do you feel that one in your body? Do you believe it?
No, I feel like ugh. Yeah.
Okay, good. This is why, guys, you can't always take people's thoughts. That thought, I believe. She doesn't. Okay?
I have a lot of people in my network that I can connect with and reach out to. So that's not the right thought, but I guess the thought would be I've done a lot of the work already. I don't feel like I'm starting at the bottom.
Okay. So when you think the thought to $1,200, like, I've done a lot of the work already. How does that thought feel?
Still doesn't feel good.
And I want everybody here to notice, what are we doing here? We're like poking the monster. We're like, how about that one? How about that one? And her monster brain is like, let me give you something that sounds pleasing.
Yeah, I'm like, to the teacher, I'm like, I've got the answer.
Mhm. And I'm just constantly testing it. And this is everybody watching, like, this is what you have to do with your brain. You have to keep testing it. And that's why we ask how it feels, because your feeling is always going to be the gauge. Like, oh, is that the thought that I put here? This isn't like fill in the blanks as quick as you can. That's not where the transformation happens. Okay. Libby, you had said something over here, and the thought was, it just takes one client. What about that thought?
I get a lot of objections in my head right away.
Okay. So then that's not the one either. Tell me what it is. What can you believe about this? What else can you believe? We know you believe that's not realistic, but you've chosen this number. Why did you choose that number?
That's a good question. So I chose that number because it feels very, very realistic and very possible for me to make $20,000 by the end of the year, from now to the end of the year.
Okay.
But then when I broke it down, it's about $1,200 per week. And then I was like, ooh. So it's this thing where when I have all kinds of time, it feels like, yeah, that's way more than possible. But when I break it down to short increments, it feels very icky.
Yeah. This is why I love this idea of breaking it down into 7 days, because this is going to bring up all the stuff. How does this change if we put one client in the next 7 days? Does it feel different?
Yeah. Yeah. It feels different. The reason that I went with the dollar amount is because I have a lot more things than just one-on-one clients. Like I have workshops and I have courses, and so I was like trying to give myself more possibility, but it actually in my body, I think, feels worse.
Yeah, you guys, this is actually why I put a very specific sentence, which, you guys don't know this, and it's that you want to choose the one that causes the least confusion. And what you did was you picked a dollar amount, but here's what comes up when people choose dollar amounts. It's, oh my gosh, what if they don't pay in full? What if they make payments? Oh my gosh, if they make payments, I'm going to have 2,500 people. What if, right? It's like, but if we just choose one client in 7 days, it gives us back the place where we're like, oh, okay, this is the honing in of the mind rather than letting it be way out there, because it's scary out there. It's a bad neighborhood in your head.
So then one client in 7 days, then I have all this other stuff that comes up of, I have this workshop at the end of the week, and I had really committed to myself that I was going to, follow through with filling that up completely. And how can I promote my a client spot and a workshop at the same time? People say you shouldn't do that. Like, it goes. Yeah.
You're going to have, if you don't nail down one goal and just believe it's possible, your brain, of course, is going to keep giving you all of the stuff. But the reality is that workshop might just be the catalyst of you creating energy, putting it out into the world, and somebody being like, no, I don't want to come to your workshop. I want to hire you and work with you, because it's possible. It's possible that somebody has emailed you right this minute.
Totally.
And I saw you're doing that workshop. I don't want that. But what I do want is to book a call with you, right? Like, this is just all possible. So your first place is you have to all of the how.
I go straight to the, how do I market it? What do I put in the email? How many do I send out?
Yeah, your brain's going straight to the A line. If I can just figure out what I have to do.
Yeah.
This isn't a do game, you guys. How do we know for sure? Because her brain is going there and it hasn't worked yet. You're still focusing on creating one client and $1,200 rather than, how do I serve these people at the biggest level? And these are just the stages of the growth. So let's come into, it's possible for you to create one client in 7 days. This is just a neutral circumstance. What do you believe about creating a client in 1 day, 7 days?
Totally possible. That feels good in my body. Totally possible.
How does it feel? What is the feeling?
Confidence. I feel confident. Yeah.
And when you're feeling confident and you're believing the thought, it's totally possible to sign one client in 7 days. What do? Stay in that certainty of that confidence. What do?
I don't panic and start coming up with a million other offerings.
Really? So if you're not panicking, what are you doing?
Yeah, I know. I know. I'm able to pinpoint what I'm not doing. What am I doing? I guess I am showing up and offering support.
Are you? Think about this. You're feeling confident. You're thinking it's totally possible to sign a client in 7 days. Like, how are you showing up and offering support? What's your way?
I don't know. I'm sort of stuck here, to be honest, which seems sort of silly, but if I'm feeling totally confident, I am feeling.
So let me stop you for just a minute. How often are you running your business and your action from a place of feeling confident versus from a place of feeling defeated?
Recently, in the past 6 months, probably 90% defeated. It hasn't always been that way, but recently, yes.
Yes.
So it's not a place I can get to quickly and easily.
Yeah. So nothing has gone wrong here, you guys, but here's what happens. When we are used to feeling like a feeling in our body, our brain like imprints it and it gives us more of it because our brains are very efficient. And it's like, oh, you like to feel defeated? Perfect. This is like if something annoys you or irritates you, I just am going to guarantee you're also going to stub your toe. Your kid is also going to color all over everything. Like it just like piles and it's like, it's almost like there's a magnet pulling it to you. That's all that's happened. You have to literally rewire and find this feeling of confidence. Because this is like whatever it is you do, it actually doesn't matter. But when you practice doing it from a place of feeling confident, instead of this feeling, which is going to come really easy. So the new question is, can you find confidence in your body right now?
I will tell you the times in my business when I feel 100% confident. It's when I am helping somebody.
You can feel it right now.
Right now.
Yep. Can you, because you think the word confident and you want to be able to create it in your body. Can you do that?
Right now, no.
Okay. What about the feeling? Like, what is a feeling when you think it's totally possible? Is there another feeling that you can create when you think that thought in your body?
Oh. Mm-hmm. There's kind of like a spark of like fun or like curiosity.
Okay.
And I can get to that place.
So we don't normally put multiple feelings here, but we will. Fun, curiosity. Stay holding that feeling. When you're having fun, you're enjoying yourself and you're feeling curious and you're thinking the thought, it's just totally possible. What do you do? What do you want to do? Like right now, when you're thinking about it being totally possible to sign one client in the next 7 days, and you're feeling this feeling in your body,
mm-hmm.
What do you want to go do?
I feel like I would offer everybody who joins my workshop coming up could also get a free call with me, because that to me is fun. I love those interactions. And obviously I can't say that would necessarily lead to anything, but interacting in that way feels fun to me.
Yeah. Okay.
going and creating a million other things also is fun. Like I like the problem solving, but it's not working. So, okay. Fun and curious. Maybe look into locally how I can meet people face to face. Kind of feels fun.
Okay. Think about redirecting it. You're just creating one client in 7 days. You're believing it's totally possible. And you're remembering that it's completely up to you. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
What do you not want to spend time doing?
Doing the dishes is what came to my head, but that's obviously unrelated. I don't want to focus on all the things that are going wrong anymore, or all the things that aren't working. That's what I've tended to be doing, is focusing on everything that's not working. It's even really interesting because on the objections portion of the exercise, I wrote down things that weren't even true. Like my brain is lying to me. And then when I went into the comforting part, I was like, Libby, that's a lie. Like, that's not even true. You know, I go to say like, nobody wants this. And it's like, but you had 5 people that signed up for that. So what are you talking about? So
yeah, you guys, and this is actually a really great point to bring up for everybody to hear. When we're up here in our brains all by ourselves and just like exploring it, we can't see that our brain is lying to us. It is not until you write it down on paper and you look at the thought and you're like, wait a minute, that's not true. It's then that you get to have that full circle perspective of, oh, yeah, my brain lies to me. And when I leave it up here and try to like fix it here, my brain can't see that it's in water. Yeah.
this is really very interesting, because when I went through the exercise myself, the actions that I came up with, I'm now realizing are still very much from my head. Like I wrote down like, you know, email my list and find out what they want. I'm like, that's not fun and curious at all. That doesn't feel.
Yeah.
So
I spent so much time on this feeling, because when you connect these two, you guys, it's the only thing. Like, you could have put anything in here. Like, I'm going to post something on social media. I'm going to make an offer. You know what? Like, I've got this really great idea I've been thinking about and I haven't done it yet. It doesn't matter what you guys put in the A line. Everything that comes from this place of you staying in this energy, and then you might need other thoughts, right? In order to get yourself to go do something, this is like a game of, what do I need to remember to believe to get myself to go do and create this thing? But it's not, what do I have to do? It's, what do I have to remember to believe to get myself to go do some stuff to create my results?
So if I'm in a place where I need to re-access that fun and creativity because I've lost it, and if the thought isn't getting it to me anymore, do I need to readjust the feeling? Like go back and revisit it if I'm unable to access that feeling, like we did with the confidence. Like I was confident right away and then I couldn't hold on to it.
Yeah. So feelings are 2 parts. One of them is, and this takes practice, you practice saying the feeling and bringing it up in your body.
Mm-hmm.
And right, like this is going to be a lot easier for you to access because your brain is just more used to it. Right.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean anything confidence. It just means that you haven't practiced it as many times. So this is part of the game, you guys. Practice saying a feeling and you can pull it from other parts of your life. Like, where do I feel confident? That was one of the places you wanted to go. I like it, but do that on your time where you practice feeling confident with other thoughts, and you practice creating the feeling, and you practice feeling the sensation. You're connecting to your brain, to your body, right? Like, I'm very aware of what my anxious feeling feels like. It's kind of bubbly. It's in my chest. It's kind of, even just saying the word, my brain's like, I've got that one for you. Here, let me give it to you.
No problem. Yeah.
I'm very connected with what the 2 feel like, and that's what you want to do. Like, ooh, what's my confident feeling? And for me, I feel like it's almost like a rod going through me, and it feels kind of hard. And it's like, but it's also like open and like overflowing. It's that kind of specificity that you want to have so that when you pull up like fun or curious, you can either get there by saying the word or by going back to like, it's totally possible. That thought should also, and then you teach your brain, like, this is like the trunk of the tree, and then you give it branches. Like, why is it totally possible? Find evidence. It's totally possible because why? Why is it totally possible?
It takes one client.
Okay.
I have 6,000 people on my email list. So one out of that is like nothing at all.
Yeah. What else?
I've had people pay me that before. There's a lot of, I'm really good at what I do. I'm good at what I do. So when I connect with someone, it's easy for them to see that I can help them.
Notice what we just did. You focused on why it was possible. The default brain is to be like, I don't know. We have to intentionally find evidence for it is possible. And just notice how different these two models are, right? Like, we still don't know that this one thought will create a client in 7 days. But what we know is that this one gets you more closer to it because the action changed. This is why a thought and a feeling make a difference when it comes to the action. Because when you're believing that's not realistic to create $1,200 in 7 days, and I mean, we did totally change the circumstance, but to show you the difference in thought feeling, like, you don't show up here, you don't bother, you try and solve problems, you come from a place that's not going to work. And then here you're like, it actually is possible to do this. And then suddenly you start offering a free call to people. You give them more value. You explore meeting people in person. You started asking yourself a question, what would be fun to do? You decided to intentionally see what was working, right? You train your brain on that instead of, and do you see how just doing these things, not because we were like, ooh, let's all steal her A-line, but because you were like, oh, that's what I would do. And then, right, like, the result you're going to create is you create it being possible. We still don't know that you create that result. That's why we have to check in every day. That's why the last question is, why didn't I create money? Or why did I yesterday? Because our brain wants to give us the answer. Oh, because you were believing that's not realistic. Well, that makes sense then.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to move on to somebody else.
Thank you.
This was great, Libby. You are so welcome. See if I know how to move you back. Change role. There we go. Okay, so it looks like we have a couple of hands raised. I love it. It is so fun, you guys, to get to dig into this with you because the exact same stuff comes up just over and over. I see a couple of people who are like, I feel like this was my own coaching. I'm getting coached here. Yeah, that's how it works. The brain works in very predictable, very similar patterns. Let's see. I'm gonna take, there we go. I think this is gonna work. Let's try it. Janelle, promoting you to panelist. There you are. Oh, hello. It's good to see you. You're still muted though, I think.
Hey.
There you are. Okay. Hi.
Hi.
Can I coach your mind on today?
It was so fun to do this. I haven't done this for such a long time, but what kept coming up for me, like, I went through all of the places I would be when I got to the goal.
Okay.
And the top rejection my mind came up with is, I try this every week and it isn't working.
Okay.
So it feels like, so the first part of the year, I created $12,000. And then it was like nothing since then. So since like May, nothing. And so I did that because I felt like I was really doing a great job with my thoughts and my beliefs. And then I was still doing the work and now I'm creating nothing. So then when I dive into it, I'm like, this isn't going to work. Which of course feels horrible.
I can imagine. So let me make sure I heard this. And it's that you were thinking some thoughts January through May that allowed you to create the result of $12,000.
Yes.
And then it sounds like your actions have stayed the same. And that's what your brain is referencing, is that I'm doing the same stuff, even if, because remember, mindset is an action. So you're doing the same actions, mindset, maybe otherwise, but your brain is now like, ooh, but now it's not creating the result.
Right.
Okay. What thoughts changed?
Well, I've gone back and examined that, and I think I can't pinpoint it. Like I guess it's, so the things that came up is maybe I'm not taking enough time to go through the process. Like I'm just trying to change the thought without like actually putting the feeling in and doing the work that you just did with Libby about, does that feel right? Is there more objection? So there's one thing. And then when I practice that, I think what's happening is I just my brain keeps finding more proof why it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Instead of like finding the proof that it can, it's saying, no, here's the reasons it's not going to happen.
Yeah. So that sounds like, right? Because I want you guys all to hear, she just answered her own question. I need to spend more time connecting the thought and the feeling. And the reason you're not getting the result you want is because your brain is believing and finding evidence for it's not working. And every second you spend gathering evidence that it's not working, it's like a purse, and you're walking around looking for rocks, and you're like filling it full, and it's just going to get heavier and heavier. And we just have to put the it's not working purse down, because it's not working always creates it not working. Just because our brain will find the evidence. How is it working right now, Janelle? What's working in your business?
Well, my list is growing.
Okay. Why is it growing? Because it sounds like it's happening to you. Like the list is just growing.
It feels like it's happening to me. It's like I did a challenge and people signed up for it.
You mean you created value in the world and you invited people to it and they wanted it?
Yes.
So they gave you their email address.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. I
notice how different that sounds from my email list is growing.
Yeah. It feels
this is the part where we have to practice taking ownership for things. It's like the R line is your list is growing, the result you're creating, but the way you're creating it is you had some spark of idea of content, so you created it, and then you kept managing your mind to actually put it out there, because people have sparks of ideas all the time. And what those sparks of ideas do is they get put on a Trello board, and then when we come back to it, you guys are all going to recognize this. We're like, why did I think that was a good idea? Right? But instead, you managed your mind and you were like, let's bring it to life. And then you put it out there and you said it in a way that people wanted it. And they were like, yeah, I need that. You spoke to them. And they were like, here's my email address. I want that. And it's like every time we take ownership for that, it makes it so much easier to also take ownership for 6 people booked a consult and they all said no. How do I own that? You know what? I didn't coach their mind. Like consults, closing calls, they're just coaching. I didn't coach their mind. Or I'm not booking consults. Why aren't I? Oh, it's because I'm not showing up, right? Like every time we take ownership for it, we create it being easy to take ownership for, like, my list is growing. Yeah, why is my list growing?
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
what else is working?
The thing is Libby's, it's saying I need to change something.
Yeah. Versus, you guys, it's working. How do we know it's working? Because you had an idea and you brought it to life in a challenge. You worded it in a way that people wanted it, and they joined your list in order to participate. So it's working. Whatever thoughts you're thinking are working to an extent. So that means we just layer on more of what's working and we clean out what's not working. Tell me how else it's working though.
It's working. Yeah, it just, my brain went blank. It's like, you don't know. How else is it working? Well, there's been a lot more time where I feel like I'm actually connecting versus, and I come away from an action like feeling good about it, feeling like it was fun, feeling like I made connection versus I'm just going to throw this dart at the board and see what happens. So I
Okay.
guess that's more of a feeling that I have versus actual data. Well, it was working because I made $12,000, but the
Mhm.
word was.
Yeah. But what were you thinking back then? What thought did you have or feeling that was creating it working? It's not just one thought. So there's no right answer here. There's tons of thoughts that were making it work.
Um, I think there's a lot of the same thoughts that I currently have that I was using, and now they just don't feel as good. Like people want what I have to offer.
Okay. Why doesn't
Um,
that feel good anymore?
I guess it doesn't feel good because my brain is saying, well, no, they don't want it because they haven't scheduled the consult with you.
Mm-hmm. So hear what your brain is still doing. It's making other people responsible.
Mm.
Our brains, you guys, like, I'm going to use this word. It's very offensive, but it's victim. Our brains want us to be the victim. We're taught this when we watch like Disney movies. Of course, we would be the victim because then somebody will save us. And it's like the other term for a victim is at the effect of. And your brain is just believing that you're at the effect of people wanting your stuff, but you're not, right? It's data. You're putting stuff out there. They either are inspired into action or they're not, but it's always you doing it. And so if they're not inspired into action right now, that has nothing to do with them. Of course they're not. They don't have to be. But that means you get to come back to you and say, okay, this is working. How do I make it work better? What do I tweak? Right? Because notice, guys, there's two places we can come from. It's not working and it is working. And we want to build on like, no, this is working. Like, how do we know it's working? Because you're showing up, because you're sticking with it, because you're committed to it. Because people are signing up for your trainings, which means they're watching. You just haven't hit the thing where they're like, ding, 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 that's what I want.
Yes. Yeah. And my mind goes back to them. Like they don't want to pay. They don't, think they don't have the money. They.
Yeah. This is going to be your work journal. There's a couple parts here. It's one is like, see what's changed from when you created $12,000. Because one of the things so many people do is they don't cement in why it worked. There are particular feelings that we feel when it's working. And then it's like, if we don't tell our brain about those feelings, our brains forget them and they just go back to other feelings. The other thing that you need to very intentionally focus on thinking and finding evidence for, and I think everybody could do this, is just writing down it's working and making your brain find proof. Everything from the simplest, like I did a live stream and people watched it. I did a live stream and people commented, like it's working. Why else could it be working? It's working because these tools have changed my life. It's working because these tools change, like they're transformational. Like this is my life. How else is it, right? Like find the evidence. And then the other part of this is for you to, what was the other thing I just said? See the places that you are believing that it's up to somebody else. This is the number one time that we don't create our results. This is the barrier to creating money, you guys. And it's believing that you have to wait for somebody to book a consult. That you're waiting on them to give you money, but they don't want to give it. And it's like when we take that ownership inside of ourselves, and it takes work, you have to find the place that you can believe this, that it's up to me. That if I want to create the result of, one client, I have to knock on 100 doors. I have to think these thoughts. I have to create content. I have to think and feel a certain way, but that it's up to me. Okay?
Yes. Yeah. And it's not a fluke, because that's the other thing that keeps popping up,
Yes. Because if it's a fluke, right, it was just because it was up to them again.
Right. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Do this work. You are welcome. Okay. I think Megan, you have your hand raised. Going to promote you to panelist. Hello there. Oh, you're muted.
Hi.
So before you say anything, Megan, I want to say that I see you in my newsfeed, and every time I see it, I'm like, her lighting is fantastic. You
Oh,
look like $1 million. So
thank you.
I wanted to make sure you knew that.
It's
No, every time I see it. A window, nice. I was like, this girl probably has very fancy stuff happening.
Well, yes, but no, not the lighting. The lighting's the simple part.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you.
You're welcome. What can I get your mind on today?
I keep looking for all the evidence why I can't do this because of being so busy with my family and kid stuff.
Yeah.
And ever since I have been practicing the future, trying to look at where am I going to be in the future? What do I think when I've already created this? My brain fights so hard because I can, when I feel that feeling of I can do this, like my body goes warm and it's like, I kind of relax, my shoulders drop, but it's really hard to stay there because immediately I'm like changing a diaper and then seeing all the mess around me. And so it's like, then I'm out of it. And so I feel like I jump in and I jump out all day long, which then I use that as a reason why I'm not being consistent and I'm failing.
Okay. So are you giving your business space to grow? Because it sounds like you're trying to like fit it in with all the other things.
Every evening I do try to set aside a time. It's gotten a lot more flexible in the past few months than it was a few months ago. But so evenings and weekends are kind of where I'm working.
Okay.
So my husband will take the kids and I know the dishes aren't going to be washed and I know that the kids are going to be taken care of, but I'm like, okay, I'm just going to work and deal with the chaos tomorrow morning when I'm in mom mode. So.
Okay. So you have space to do your business, but it sounds like these thoughts are happening outside of the space you have for your business. Because when you're in your business, you're not changing diapers and being pulled away. So why, when you're with your family, are you not with your family?
I think I need to stay in belief. And so I do notice that I keep like daydreaming. I'm like practicing belief while my kids are playing. And then I'm like, I could be playing with my kids, but then I'm not.
Yeah. What do you think would happen? And I do remember this place. This is a place where there's like a fear, like I have to stay in the belief just in case.
Yeah.
What do you think would happen if you were just with your family and in your life and enjoying your life, or even working on your own transformation, not your business, and then when it's business time, you go into business mode and you come to it from a happy place of like, I'm choosing to spend the day with my family and I'm choosing to give my business this couple hours a night and on the weekend.
That would definitely be different than what I've been doing.
How would it feel different when you entered Like both parts.
Much more relaxing and enjoyable. It would
Okay.
feel special. Each thing would be special.
Yeah.
It would feel just like an old shoe, kind of comfortable, I guess.
Okay.
That's what I'm.
What would change in your business when you start to show up from, like, you just enjoyed your whole day, you loved your life because you're choosing it, and then you get to the part where you have time set aside for your business. How would you show up differently to your business?
From a more relaxed place, so I wouldn't be spinning on all of the value I'm supposed to be creating.
Okay.
And when I do go into business mode, I start stressing about, how am I supposed to give them value? What can I create for them? What do I need to put together that will enhance their life, give them a transformation ahead of time?
Yeah. So right now, I'm seeing a theme here. You're taking action from the stress and the spinning. You're like letting those feelings fuel what you do.
Entirely.
Yeah. You guys, this is going to be the one simplest, I say simple, I should put that in air quotes. But if you could make one change, it would be checking the energy and saying, like, what's fueling this? And I write this down myself sometimes. I ask myself that question because sometimes, like, it's just so easy to think that the action is really important. Like, oh no, I really have to post this because if I don't, I'm going to be busy with my family, or I really have to get this email out. But if you ask yourself the simple question of what's fueling this, your brain's going to tell you the feeling. Now, this also comes back to feeling work. You have to be like, wait a minute, what's that feeling called? But don't get distracted with that. Like, is this a feeling that fuels me, or like is like dragging around a weight? And then you get to ask yourself the question, what do I want to fuel me? How do I want to fuel this action? Do I want to fuel it with like confusion and uncertainty? Because you would never make that choice. It would be like changing your baby's diaper. You just would, like, if you were choosing the energy, like, what energy would you choose to change your baby's diaper?
Like love.
I love that one took you a while. Like, this is a trick question. I don't know.
It went back and forth, but that's hilarious. Oh my God.
So think about this. You put your baby down wherever you change, girl or boy? Boy. And you change him and you just purposely feel love. What do you do? Like, how does that show up differently than if you're feeling rushed? How do you change his diaper differently? How do you engage with him differently?
It's night and day.
Yeah, tell me about it. What's the specifics?
So he tries to run away every time. And if I'm focused on love, I'm much more patient with it, and I'm playful with him. But if I'm also thinking about business stuff and I've got to stay on point with my feeling, then I'm like, hey, no, stop. So it's like I'm a little curt with him instead of loving.
Yeah. This is what we do in our business, you guys. And I think changing a baby is such a great example because most of us have this experience. But it's the energy. It's not the action. Like, did he get a fresh diaper on? Am I physically caring for his needs?
Yeah.
It's, did I do it because you show up differently with love? And your business is the same way. When we just show up to our business from love and peacefulness and like inspiration, whatever feeling, like love is actually a really fun one. Then we get to start tweaking and adding on from a place of like, okay, love gets me showing up. Love gets me creating really good content for them, but it's still not quite creating the results I want. And then you get to start asking like, oh, like my clients who say love, they're like, oh, I forgot to make offers. I forgot that the biggest way they transform is by working with me. I was just loving them, because then you get to start building on love with like, oh yeah,
That's so good.
it's good.
You
Good
blowing
job.
my mind. It seemed so necessary to think business all the time.
Mm.
Like I have to stay in that belief always.
And you just test this, right? Because I mean, I remember this. I remember being very skeptical and my brain being like, I don't know, I think we should hold on. And the first time that I got a taste was like my coach took me, I did an in-person day with her. And she was like, you're not going to think about your business. We just went and got a massage. We sat in this room. I don't know, they hold you hostage in. It was fun. And I'd never done that before. And she was like, don't think about your business, or think about it in very loving ways. And then when I got done, you guys, it just like, she asked me a question and just like the answers just like flowed. And it was like, that was in there the whole time. And it's like, that's what you have access to when you just practice. Like, you know what, today, like I'm skeptical. I don't know for sure, but like today I'm just going to try thinking about my business. Because notice, if you only choose to think about your business at a certain time, it's not going to be flexible anymore. It's going to be like, I honor the time I show up to my business, because that's what I set aside for it, because my brain has been waiting for me all day, because my brain knows when I'm going to be there. And then I flip the switch, right? And then you get to honor the time with a different thought.
That seems so foreign, but I want it. I like it.
Tell me what you took from that.
Being present where I am and intentionally feeling love when I'm with my kids will mean that when I am with my business, I approach it eagerly from a place of love and service, because I've filled myself. I'm filling myself wherever I am, but I'm not so distracted and divided that when I get to my business, it's easy to create feelings of love for my business because I've been practicing with my family all day.
Yes.
That's such a
Remember,
different
because
energy.
the emotions we hold, you guys, it's like a magnet. So there's no way you don't practice presence and love all day long and connectedness, and then walk into your business and spiral out of control. You might, but it's just more likely that your brain's going to be like, okay, we like to feel love. Let's keep doing it.
Yeah, you were saying that what feelings that our bodies are accustomed to feeling is what it creates more of. And that, yeah. So if I'm doing that with my family, it would do that with, oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yes. And
I
what would
like,
be different in your business if you just changed how you feel? I think you'd get different results.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Do you think you could do the exact same action? Right? Because think about it. What do? You're like, I post on social media. You do videos. I know what you do. I don't know what you do, but I know you create videos.
Right.
And so you're going to just keep doing the same stuff, but you're going to cut out the part where you're confused and you're like, what should I do? Oh my gosh, this is frantic. And it's just going to be like, you're going to come up with simple questions.
Hmm.
What did I need to hear? What do they need to hear today? And you're just going to create that from that place.
I love it.
And it's either going to create the result you want or it's not. But it's not because it's not working, right? It comes from like, no, this is working. Feeling love is always working.
Yes.
But we might need to, like after day one, we might need to be like, okay, but what else might I need to add to this? How do I might want to like increase it? Where do I want to make this better? When we ask ourselves that question, why didn't I create money yesterday, or why did I? That's when it becomes like, wait, oh, because of, right? So when you answered that question today, what was the answer? Did you create money yesterday?
I did not.
Why not?
I checked out of my business for a week to do personal stuff.
Okay.
And then, so I dropped off the face of the earth for a week.
Yeah. So when you think about your business being a baby, would you ever check out from your baby for a week?
Oh, that's so good. No. 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 I wouldn't.
So you were checked out. You know the reason. Why were you checked out? What was the thought you had? Because there was some reason your brain was believing that you didn't have time, maybe something. There was a thought that caused you to take the action of being checked out from your business. What was that thought?
I've got all these other things to do.
Yes. So the reason you didn't make money yesterday was because you were thinking the thought, I have all these other things to do. You were believing that thought and you were letting that run your business.
Ooh. Oh, that's dangerous.
Because when we get this specific, you guys, with that, like, why didn't I? It's not because you checked out, right? That's the action. This is what I love to do. When I find out, like, I'm constantly asking myself. So I'm like, why didn't I? Oh, I checked out. So what I do is I put an A, right? Because this is the action that I took. And then what I do is I say, what was I thinking that caused me to check out? Because then you're going to write, I forgot what your thought was already. I have all these other things to do.
Yeah, yeah.
And then now we know why you didn't create money yesterday.
Oh my goodness.
And as we do, like, there's 1,000 shifts we make from where you are and whatever money you're creating to the money you want to create, to that first 50,000. And it happens with this kind of awareness. Oh, it was my thought again. Because this one will seem really true, right? Like our brain's like, no, you do have a lot of things to do.
Mm-hmm.
And when we nod back at our brain, we're like, yes. It's like the child brain and the adult brain, and they're both agreeing. We don't want that. We want your adult brain to be like, wait a minute. And this is just like the person who wants to solve problems. This could be a real problem. Like, I should solve this. I should get more efficient. I should get rid of all those other things. But no, when it becomes just a thought, we don't have to solve anything. We just have to stop choosing to think it.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
I love how your face is just like, what? A brain explosion again?
I know. That wasn't optional, but it is. Oh.
Because it's not a real problem. It's a thought.
Oh. Wow. I'm like all warm again. Like, this is possible. It's just a thought. I can just, oh, wow.
What's your thought you're creating for the next 5 or 7 days?
This is really happening. Feels nice.
I want to know the result you're creating.
Oh, I'm sorry. One client in the next 7 days.
Perfect. Yeah, and I love that supporting thought. Like, this is really happening. And we don't know for sure, right? But what we know is that thought's probably going to help you take some different action than a thought like, I don't know, doesn't seem realistic.
Yeah.
Right? One client in 7 days, it's totally possible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It is.
Awesome. You are so welcome, Megan. Great stuff. Change role to attendee. Awesome, you guys. That is a wrap on the day. I'm going to send this out as a replay. So if you want to watch this over again, you can. Keep doing your work. And I mean, there might be 100, 200 people who reply to me, but if you have questions as you're doing this, hit reply in the email, ask me away, and I will either do a video to answer them or I'm just going to answer one by one because I don't know that I have that kind of time, but I can make it. So have an amazing day and keep doing your daily work.